and welcome to Creating in Color, sharing the creative endeavors of people of color. I'm your host, Kaybe, and today I'm joined with Daniel, a cinematic animator whose past projects include First Comes Love, Spies in Disguise, and Glenn Keane's Over the Moon. How are you today, Daniel?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing well too. Thank you so much for
Of
asking.
course.
So, what is a cinematic animator?
So, a cinematic animator is they're animators that work on the cutscenes and the cinematics between gameplay, or that set up kind of the gameplay that's about to happen. A lot of the time, gameplay or cinematic animators work with mocap. So there's a lot of mocap data that they clean up, but as for me, at Blizzard, there's a lot of kind of hand keyed stuff. So I don't really work with mocap at Blizzard. It's a lot of hand key from scratch. We kind of make it and build up, but it's different for every studio and it's different for every project. So yeah, so that's what we do. And there's also another department that's for gameplay animation. That's a lot of the cycles and the emotes and that kind of thing. But cinematics work on the cutscenes and the cinematics between the gameplay.
Interesting. So, quick question.
Hmm.
Would cinematic also be the Overwatch shorts?
Yes, yeah. So my department also tackles all the shorts and yeah, all the like rendered out shorts that they release for the stories. Yeah.
Super cool. Love those shorts.
Yeah, they're super, super cool.
You mentioned mocap and was it keyframes that you said?
Yeah, hand keyed animation.
Hand key.
Yeah,
Do you mind going into what each of those are?
sure. Yeah, so mocap animation, that's when they'll have actors actually act out the scenes in rooms where they wear kind of suits with a lot of dots on them so it can be tracked. And then that data that's tracked from the actors is translated onto our rigs and the computer. And of course, it's not really perfect. So a lot of the animators that work on those kind of clean up the action and they clean up a lot of the movements that can look a little rough when they're kind of translated over. There's also a lot of times the hands aren't translated over and the faces aren't translated over, so they have to hand key the faces and the hands. So yeah, there's a kind of teamwork that goes between actor that's acting it out and animator that's cleaning it up and kind of solidifying the performance. But with hand keyed animation from scratch, the animators it's kind of like it is in feature, where the animators work off of the voiceover that we receive and the direction of our leads and supervisors and directors. And from that, we kind of develop this animation from scratch and we build up from nothing to something.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you get started in the animation industry?
So this was kind of just a dream of an eighth grader. It was way back in eighth or ninth grade, or it was the summer between the two. And I had seen Toy Story 3 with my brother. Me and my brother were in the theater, like weeping, of course, as you do. And so I was like, for some reason, something clicked when I watched it, because I'd always loved animation. But when I was watching that, I kind of analyzed the technicality of it all. And something about the end for Toy Story 3 kind of clicked in me, and I wanted to learn more. So I did a lot of research, and as an eighth and ninth grader, I didn't really know, I don't know, how to tackle the situation. So I just found the Pixar number and called it. So yeah, so I called
You
Pixar.
just,
I just called them,
wow,
but I didn't really,
bold.
yeah, I didn't really know what to do. So I was just like, I'll just give them a call. And there was this kind of like movie phone voice answering machine that picked up, and it was like, "You've reached Pixar Animation Studios." And it said, "If you know the name of your contact, say it now." And I didn't know anyone, so I said the one Pixar name that I could think of, John Lasseter. And it was like, "Connecting you to John Lasseter." And my eighth grade brain was panicking. So thankfully, I think I got an assistant. But so they gave me a little bit of info because I was like, I'm an eighth grader and I want to work at Pixar. But they didn't give me all that much. So I was like, I want to talk to an artist. So I did some more research. I found an artist and I found Victor Navone, who's an animator at Pixar. And I called, I said his name instead, and then I left a voicemail. And thankfully, he was kind enough to respond. And he sent me an email with a bunch of recommendations of what to do and how to move forward. And it was through his email that I kind of discovered a lot of schools. And I stumbled into Ringling College in Sarasota, Florida. And so I was like, oh, that's not too far from home. And I did a pre college program, I think sophomore year. And that kind of sparked the fire a little bit. And since then, I kind of just drove through and went to Ringling and I kind of pushed myself and yeah. And here I am. I graduated and right after school, I was lucky enough to land an internship at Blue Sky, and I was there for about a year. And then after that, I took some classes over the summer, and then I went to Sony, and then that's where I worked on Over the Moon. Yeah.
Amazing. Wow, that's wow.
It was, yeah. I don't know why. I don't know what part of my eighth grade brain thought that it was a good idea, but hey, it worked out, I guess.
I'm just curious, like, was this a normal thing that you did as an eighth grader? Is just like, I want to learn more, picks up phone and calls immediately.
I would like to think that that's not a normal thing that I did, but I can't remember. That was definitely the most like nerve-wracking thing that like I had done up until that point. Yeah, no, I hope I didn't do anything else that's like out of my memory. But yeah, it was definitely a weird time, but it was a really cool kind of shift in my life.
Yeah, that's take bold steps. That's
Yeah,
amazing. And
yeah,
how cool of that artist just like help you out like
yeah. No, I super appreciate it, and I always try to kind of like pay it forward by like helping anybody else out who reaches out to me, and try to be that for them because I know that if it wasn't for him to just reaching out to an eighth grader from South Carolina, that I wouldn't be where I am today. So hopefully, I can kind of be that for other people who reach out.
have you gotten in contact with this artist ever since or
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I visited I think I gave him like an update email when I was like a freshman in Ringling, just being like, "Hey, I made it out." And he was like, "Great." Um and one time I went to go visit a friend of mine who was working at Pixar, and as I like walked into the studio, he was like, "Look who it is. Go, go, go." And it was him, and he was just kind of walking out of the department, and I like froze up and I didn't know what to say, and so he just kind of pushed me into him, and so I like stumbled in front of the guy that I like that kind of started me on this whole journey, and it was the most embarrassing kind of like stumbling that I'd ever done. It was so bad I couldn't breathe. The air was like stuck in my chest. I didn't finish one sentence, I don't think, but thankfully he was nice enough to kind of understand my nervousness, and it was still a really cool experience, and he's such a great guy.
this is the most amazing industry story I've ever heard. Like, I love that. Oh my god. I love
It was
it.
wild. It was a crazy time, but it was a cool full circle moment to be stammering in front of him, I guess.
Yeah, that's adorable. To you, what does it mean to work as an animator?
That's a great question. I think it's I don't know. There's just kind of this interesting thing to get into the mindset of these characters that are bigger than life because they're for animation. So you have to kind of put yourself in the mindset of their circumstances and what they've been going through and kind of their emotional journey. And it's really cool to dive into that. And it's kind of I did theater a lot in high school, so I kind of had that bug to begin with, and that's why I kind of transitioned over to animation. So yeah, I think there's really something great about learning that kind of thing, and also pairing it with the analysis of human mechanics and performance, and there's just a lot of really cool pieces that form this gigantic puzzle that's so interesting to be a part of. So it's really cool to also just the community of artists that feel the same way and have the same passion. It's cool that you can kind of talk to anybody that's in the industry and have that same spark and interest in kind of the details and the little bits of things that form this big picture. So yeah, I love being a part of the community. I love being a part of the process, and I love learning more about people and about cultures and everything that you kind of pick up along the way.
Do you find a difference in your animation work in an animation studio versus your work in a video game company?
Um, that's hard given that I'm working from home. I still haven't even gone into Blizzard. Like I don't know what it looks like on the inside. So
Oh,
so I'm still kind of like getting an idea of what it is like. But I think the department that I'm part of, that's the cinematics and they work on the shorts. I think it's a little bit more feature similar. So it wasn't too big of a shift, but it is relatively similar. I think both of them are similar in that they kind of are there to service the story. Um, with animation and feature, it's there to serve as the story of the movie. But with games, it's there to serve as the story of the games and the gameplay, and kind of the interactiveness of the whole experience. So if we're doing kind of cutscenes and cinematics between the actual gameplay, there are a few more limitations than if we're doing kind of a short. If it's gameplay, it's kind of you work with the gameplay rigs, which are a little bit simpler. They have fewer controls and fewer things that you can do, I guess. And also there's not as much cheating that you can do because it is like within the game still. Whereas when you're working on a short, you can kind of like you have a little bit more freedom with it. And I do think that there is a big difference if you are working like as a gameplay animator, where you kind of have to do the emotes and the cycles and all that stuff for the gamers. There are a lot more limitations with that. Like you have a certain amount of frames that you have to do this whole action in, which is totally different from what feature is like. And you also have to incorporate that kind of thing into the gameplay engine. That's a whole world that I'm not really aware of. But yeah, as far as my department is concerned and kind of where I've come from, it hasn't been too big of a shift for me to hang on. It is similar to what I'm used to.
Do you feel in order to be successful in this industry, you need to be an artist?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say so. I think that the industry kind of has a bunch of different subcategories that spark different interests in people. I do think that it is a kind of marriage of the left and right side of the brain. So there is an artistry to it, but I don't think you need to be an artist per se. I can't draw for the life of me. Honestly, I don't know how
Oh.
I. Yeah, I'm really bad at drawing. Thankfully, my job doesn't require that I draw. It is a bonus. It is a plus if you can. But I think if you have your niche and your love and your passion elsewhere, and you can show how to integrate that into your career path or into where you, that's what will kind of draw eyes and that's what will spark attention. For instance, my love is kind of in the acting aspect of it all. So I really love reference and I love taking reference and I love just kind of getting in front of the camera and seeing what I can do with this character in mind and with the situation in mind. So that's where I kind of put a lot of my love and attention into it. But there are some people that love drawing and the beauty of the kind of 2D composition and the 2D aspects of animation. So they'll do drawer passes and 2D passes, and that's how they'll kind of do their thing. But there are so many different aspects of the industry that aren't even artistic in the kind of like common sense of the word. There's a lot of production, which a film or a game couldn't be done without the production team. So that's something that isn't kind of an artist per se, but there is a really cool aspect of being a part of production, being a part of the team, and kind of unifying everybody for a common goal. Yeah, there's lighting, there's rigging, there's modeling that have these like separate kind of artistries. So yeah, I don't know. I think there is kind of an artistry to everything, but if you feel that you're not an artist per se, but you have this love and desire for the industry, I wouldn't let that scare you away. There is definitely something for everyone in the industry.
I wanted to ask you, you said you had a theater bug.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I'd like to know how you feel your theater study helps. Like, I know you already like kind of lightly touched base on it, but if you don't
Mm.
mind going more into detail, your theater background helps you with your animation work.
Sure. Well, I did theater for about 6 years in high school and middle school, and I just kind of loved it. Honestly, when I was in high school, I kind of loved just the social aspect of it all. You get to like hang out with your friends after school and just kind of goof around. But to the core of it, there's this interest in acting that I had. Like I said earlier, about kind of diving into a character and their situation and getting to know more about them. So that in itself can easily transfer over to animation because it's still that same analysis. It's still that same kind of looking into this character that isn't you and trying to figure out how they tick, how they work. So the whole acting aspect of it all is really helpful. When it comes to reference, it also kind of gets you to feel a little bit more comfortable being in front of a camera or being in front of an audience. I think I'm not as scared as I was before showing reference to like directors and supervisors because I kind of had to adapt to putting myself out there in front of an audience and performing through this character. So I think that kind of helped a lot too. And there's also a community aspect to theater that is really important because it's a lot of working together to meet this common goal of telling the story as well as you possibly can. And I think that the industry does a really good job of that. There's a lot of communication between artists and departments, and it's really kind of team based. Without the team aspect of it, it would just all fall apart. So I think theater kind of taught me a little bit about that too. So there's a lot of stuff that theater can kind of transfer over to animation that transfers pretty well.
Are you interested in doing any live action acting? I guess is the best way to ask that question.
No, yeah, totally. I before I wanted to be an animator, I was like, I really want to act. Like, I love theater. I would love to kind of keep doing theater. Even now, I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't want to like kind of revisit the theater and do at least kind of a community performance of some kind or a theater show. That would be super cool. But yeah, before animation, I was like interested in acting, and my brother was also interested in acting, and now he's a voice actor. So he had the same bug that I did, and kind of looking up to him and seeing how much fun he was having with it and reflecting on how much fun I was having with it, I definitely really wanted to pursue acting. And I found that within animation too. So it was like the best of both worlds that I could kind of combine my love of art and of acting. And that's kind of what what drew me to it.
It's so cool that you both are like two halves of like what makes a character that's an animated character.
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's my brother. Like I would ask him every now and then to kind of help me with stuff. So he would help me with school assignments and kind of do voice acting for some of my stuff. Right now, I'm working on just a personal project with a VO clip that he gave me. So I'm kind of animating to his voice, which is a cool kind of for full circle thing too, to kind of be in the same household, pursuing our passions, and then now we can kind of converge and work together. It's a really cool feeling. So yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to keep working on it.
See if your brother wants to be on this podcast.
Yeah, no, totally. I would love to send him your way.
Yay! Thank
Oh, of
you.
course.
What does it mean to be an animator?
I think when it comes to being an animator, there's this like responsibility that you have to tell a story. And I think that it's also kind of this juggling act. A lot of times you kind of need to have an idea of how styles work and be able to kind of be a jack of all trades in that sense. Because different directors want to tell different stories, and different stories require different things. So to be an animator, it's kind of like once you receive that shot in your inventory, it's your responsibility to find what within your shot can move the story forward. And so in the end, all of us, like even just in the industry as a whole, we're all storytellers that are holding on to like a different aspect of the story. And I think all of us have the responsibility to kind of find this perfect balance of all of our fortes and everything that we can all bring to it to tell it in the best way we possibly can. So I think animators have this responsibility to really understand the story, the character, where the director wants to take it, how the style suits that story, and just giving a performance that can really move the story forward in a way that really connects with the audience. So yeah, I think that's kind of what it means to be an animator, is just being a storyteller.
What does your daily routine look like?
So I wake up and I slam the snooze button a few times, but I feel like that's just kind of how we all do. And in the morning, usually for a lot of places, they'll have kind of several meetings throughout the day that you can meet up with a supervisor and just kind of show your work. It's the dailies kind of meeting. So usually there's one like in the morning and there's one in the afternoon. So depending on if you're showing that day, there's like a kind of crunch in the morning that you want to get everything done so that you can show what you wanted to show. So yeah, there's a frantic kind of working in the morning, and then you get to show your work in dailies. And throughout the day, otherwise, there's a lot of kind of showing your work to leads and to supervisors to kind of get their input and get their buy off before they can kind of show it to the directors. And you kind of have to go through all these steps and kind of get sent back with their notes before you can keep moving forward. It's also really helpful to talk to friends. So there are a lot of times that I'll reach out to a friend or to a coworker and just ask for their input. Just like, hey, what do you think about this shot? What could I work on? Of course, their notes shouldn't override the notes of a lead or a supervisor, but it always kind of helps me find a good spot for my shot. So yeah, it's mostly just kind of working through a shot, doing the notes, and showing it to all the right people before you can kind of keep moving forward to the director. So there are those moments throughout the day that you can show to the directors and show to the supervisors and kind of get those updates. And you keep doing that cycle until you kind of find the right spot. And then working through a shot specifically, I like to start off with reference and idea generation, and then finding kind of the mood that I want to set for the shot. And then I show that. And if they buy it off, then I do blocking. Depending on the shot, I'll do kind of splined blocking pass, which is just going straight through the keys and kind of watching everything flow. Or I'll do a stepped blocking pass, which is kind of just the poses, just like the exact poses of the shot that kind of pop between each other, both of which are good ways to show for blocking. And once that's approved, then I kind of push forward into finalizing it and polishing it and getting that approved. So yeah,
Wow.
that's my process that I go through.
So when you finish your whole process and it's approved and it's done, where does it go to next?
After that, it kind of moves forward, depending on the studio that you work at. Sometimes it'll go to a technical department, technical animators that will go through your shot and make sure like there's nothing breaking, there's nothing penetrating through, that everything in the scene looks good. And then they'll send it off to cloth and sim, and they'll kind of work on the hair and clothes and all that stuff. And then lighting gets a hold of it, and effects. And after that, I believe it's comp. So they kind of like compose everything, and they're kind of like the finishing touches of the shot. Yeah, and then after that, it kind of gets past us and it goes on to editing. So I think that's the process. After it kind of like leaves my site, it kind of like gets a little jumbled. so if I'm not wrong, I think that's kind of the steps that it goes through before it gets to to the final product.
What are some specific roadblocks you try to watch out for?
Ooh, I think the biggest one is motivation. That's a really hard thing to kind of overcome. You have that kind of drive and that passion that brings you there, but there are a lot of times that you kind of work on notes and you kind of scrap ideas that you were attached to, or you kind of fall into this cycle where you feel like you can't get out, or a project just requires a lot of work, and so you kind of work yourself into a point where you're exhausted, but you got to keep working. So there are a lot of times where motivation kind of like depletes. So that's when I try to remind myself of why I'm in this industry in the first place. I'll watch animated movies. I'll watch demo reels. I'll talk to friends. I'll kind of frame through shots that really inspired me, and those will kind of remind me why I still love what I do, and that'll kind of boost me back up to wanting to tackle the shot and wanting to do the best that I possibly can. So yeah, I think motivation is really tough, especially in the work from home situation, because you don't have the community to bounce off of other than, roommates or anything. You don't have the studio environment, which has this great sense of community and teamwork that really kind of keeps you moving forward. So yeah, you just have to kind of find the things that really spark interest and love in what you do and surround yourself with it. And that usually picks me back up and keeps me moving forward.
What support or resources do you use or recommend for someone trying to break in?
Ooh. First and foremost, I'd recommend books, the Animator Survival Kit and The Illusion of Life. Those are kind of the two Bibles that we all adhere to. But also, I think there's a big community in social media of artists that kind of share their work. And I think just kind of watching what they share and asking them questions and investigating and researching into that definitely draws a lot of knowledge and a lot of interest, because there's a lot that you can learn from people who have already gone through it. So kind of like what I force myself to do, just put yourself out there. We're all in the same boat and we all want to help each other out. So I think that it's important to establish this comfortness. Is that even a word? Comfortness is this. I think it's important to establish this level of comfort with all of our coworkers and all of our peers in the industry, because there's a lot to be learned from each other, whether you are starting off or whether you're not even in it or whether you're a veteran. I think that line of communication is really important, because I think that young people can learn to help push them forward. And I think that veterans can learn from young people to remind them why they're in it in the first place. Because there is a lot, like I said before, there's the motivation can kind of trickle out, especially if you've been in the industry a long time.
Mm.
When there are fresh eyes and when there are like bright-eyed souls that are joining the industry and you kind of see them love every aspect of it, it picks you up a little bit. It kind of reminds you like, yeah, that's right, this is cool. So veterans love to see it, and I think it's a really cool thing that we can reach out to each other and that we can help each other out and we can build, like, move each other forward. So definitely feel comfortable reaching out, read those books, look at demo reels online on Vimeo, frame through animated movies and animated shots. Yeah, I think there's a lot of resources at your fingertips that you can use without having to dish out money on classes or anything. So yeah, I would say that.
Daniel,
Yes.
what was your upbringing like?
Ooh, so I was born in Oklahoma, raised in South Carolina. I went to a really small private school for pretty much my entire life. It was from kindergarten through 12th grade. So, and I graduated with a class of 26 people. So it was pretty small. The same people growing up, like your entire life.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a very small, tight-knit community, and that kind of made it feel like a family. So yeah, it was a very supportive community too. When I kind of found this love of art and this passion to kind of move forward with it. Usually that's a hard thing to sell to people to get them on board, but everybody was more than supportive and motivational and helped me move forward. So that was really cool. And my grandparents on both sides were born in Puerto Rico. My parents met each other in Puerto Rico, even though they were both born in the in the Northeast, like the Illinois area. They were both born there, but they didn't meet until they were in school in Puerto Rico, which is kind of weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was this huge Puerto Rican community that I was like surrounded by. Even though I was in South Carolina where there isn't much of a Puerto Rican community, we kind of found each other, which is cool. Yeah, so a lot of artists, and like I said, my brother is a voice actor. I was kind of surrounded by a love of art. My dad loved painting, so there are some paintings that he has around the house. And my mom was a Spanish teacher, and she liked visual storytelling because she felt that that was a way to teach kids Spanish, and have it kind of stick in their brain a little bit easier. So she loved the visual aspect of teaching. So art was just constantly around my family, and culture was constantly around my family. And this kind of desire to pursue what you want was what I was raised with. And as long as you're kind of driven and as you're motivated and you're willing to kind of push yourself to go through it, they were always supportive and encouraging. So yeah, even though I kind of came from a small town where what I wanted to do was pretty abnormal, I was raised and surrounded by people who were encouraging along the way. And I think that was kind of an important aspect of what drove me to move forward with what I wanted to do in life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're working on short as a personal project, but other than that, do you have any hobbies, side hustles, or interests that you engage in outside of work?
Well, I do love music. I I learned the drums when I was in high school or middle school. So I have a little drum kit, but it's like back home in South Carolina, so I haven't seen it in a while.
Oh.
Yeah, I miss it. But no, I love music, so sometimes I'll kind of mess around in GarageBand and just kind of throw things together and get a feel for it. Some friends of mine are teaching me a little bit about longboarding. So I'm like slowly, one injury at a time, learning how longboarding works. I took a tumble a couple weeks ago and it took forever to heal, but I made it out alive. Yeah, just like little things here and there that kind of keep me going, and I'm able to kind of test the waters with other things that I have interest in. But yeah, other than that, I kind of just spend a lot of my time talking to friends, and there's this Discord server that I'll like hang out with friends in, and yeah, there's a lot of that I spend my time with, and hanging out with people that I haven't seen in a while. My family is in the area, and my niece was just born, so that's something that I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. So yeah, that's something that I'm really excited to kind of put my time into soon. But yeah, I think it's really important to have those things outside of work that keep you excited and keep you hungry. So yeah, those are those things for me.
What do you feel are the next steps in your journey?
I think every animator, well, not even specifically animator, I think a lot of people in the industry kind of shift their priorities. Some people prioritize the project, some people prioritize the location, some people prioritize the studio or the team or their family. And so I think that's kind of a shift that would probably be happening soon, because I've kind of hopped all over the nation, kind of hopping from job to job and pursuing projects and pursuing studios and kind of just excitedly dipping my toes into all the water. But I think that my priorities might be shifting just because it's a lot, like moving around and stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure what those priorities will be shifting to. I guess the time will tell. But yeah, that's another really cool thing that you can talk to other people in the industry about, is that all their priorities are very different. And it's really cool to see what drives them and why it drives them and why they prioritize some things over others. It helps you kind of find what you want too. Because even once you get into the industry, it's not like all of a sudden you have everything you've ever wanted. You still kind of want to works best for you, what studio works best for you, what team, what location. There's a lot of things that to take into account for what will make you feel good about what you do. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things you can learn from other people that have different priorities. So I'm sure my priorities might be shifting sometime soon, but time will tell.
Okay, now is the time for rapid questions.
Okay.
Where I'll ask you a series of this or that, or ooh, you seem ready.
I'm ready.
I'm not gonna finish this sentence.
Let's do it.
Go then. Let's start easy. Cat or dog?
Dog. I've been raised with dogs like my whole life, so I have like a connection with dogs that a kinship that I kind of love.
Do you have a dog right now?
No, I want one so bad. My family dog is back home, so I miss him dearly. But once I can kind of solidify myself a little bit, I think I'll end up getting a dog pretty soon.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm excited.
Do it! I also want a dog, but I have a crazy cat. Just kidding. I love him. What are something? This is not a this or that question. I'm sorry, everybody who keeps coming at me saying, you know that. Okay. What are some things that sound like compliments but are actually insults?
Ooh, the classic, you look nice today. It's like, today? What about the other days?
Like, not so much.
Yeah, all right. I'll think about that later.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Ooh, I think vanilla, because it's a good, like, base. You can kind of build on top of that if you want.
What would you build on top of vanilla?
Chocolate. Because I feel like if you put chocolate on chocolate, then it's like, it's too much chocolate. But if you put chocolate on vanilla, it's like a nice marriage of the two.
Okay.
I stand by it.
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
Netflix or YouTube?
Ooh, YouTube.
Cake or pie?
Cake. That was a hard one.
What kind of cake?
Um, I really like red velvet. Yeah.
You know, that's a form of chocolate cake, right?
Listen. All right, fine. Fine. I'll change my answer.
No, no, no. You don't have to change your answer. I want you to realize what's happening here.
Okay, you're right. You win. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay, but thank you for admitting that I win.
No, you're right. I stand down.
Would you rather new clothes or a new phone?
Um, New clothes. I feel like I've been wearing the same stuff for like 2 years. I need some change up. My phone, I can keep working with it.
Is it because we're in quarantine and it feels like it's been 2 years?
No, for like legitimately like 2 or 3 years, I've been wearing the same cycle of clothes. Even before quarantine, it's been the same stuff. I really got to branch out. Somebody help me.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
What's your third favorite color?
Ooh, third favorite color. Blue.
Okay, now what's your second? Now I'm just curious.
Black.
Red, black, and blue. That sounds like a setup to a joke.
Yeah, I can see that. Red and black has always been my default color combo. It's on like everything I have.
It's like how you have red headphones and you're
Yeah.
wearing a blue shirt and a black beanie.
And my phone has like a red and black case.
Oh, it's like Shadow the Hedgehog.
Shadow's got some cool colors.
Okay, who's your favorite Sonic the Hedgehog character?
I gotta say Tails.
I'm so glad you didn't say Shadow.
No. Shadow's great. He's got a cool color combo. But Tails, I gotta say Tails.
Tails is adorable. Okay. Um this is gonna be the last question. What's your favorite Sonic game? It could be any of them. Actually, no. No retro games because that's too easy. So it has to be like Sonic Adventure or higher.
Can I say Sonic Heroes?
Yeah, you can say Sonic Heroes.
All right, I'm gonna say Sonic Heroes. That theme song is still latched into my brain.
I always ask people this question.
Sure.
So get ready.
Okay.
And since we talked about Sonic, you can't say Sonic
All right.
or Shadow.
Okay.
So give me a word that starts with the letter S.
Spider-Man.
That's a person. That's a name. That's an identity.
Yes. Wait, should it just be any like a word?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is nothing coming to my mind right now?
Because it's difficult now.
What? um Shelf? Why is that the first thing that comes to my mind?
Shelf. Okay. I'll take it. I shall
That
accept.
that's weak. I gotta be
Did you want
better.
to try again?
No, now I'm ashamed. Now I feel
What
like
about shame? Shame's a good word.
shame. There we go. I'll stick with that then.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for speaking with us today. It has been a pleasure. Do you have any social media you would like to share with us?
Oh, sure. I have Instagram and Twitter, both of which are at dceballos95.
And thank you, the listener, for tuning in. Please follow Creating in Color on Instagram and Twitter, and feel free to submit any questions for upcoming guests through our social media or creatingincolorcast@gmail.com. I said that weird. If you are interested in following me, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Or not Twitter, Twitch. Excuse me. Who am I? You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Maybe It's Kaybe. Thanks to Namikaze for allowing us the use of his song. You can find more of his music on his SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Namikaze. That's Namikaze. Thanks to everyone for sharing Creating in Color with their friends, family, and coworkers. We really appreciate any word of mouth or even to help push our hashtag on social media, #Creating in Colorcast. If you're interested in supporting us, you can find us on Ko-fi. Coffee.com/creating in color. Before we wrap up, do you have any departing words of wisdom for everyone listening?
You made it through.
Struggles.
You did great.
Thank you.
Sure. Keep listening to this podcast. Keep reaching out to other artists. And keep that passion going.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
This has been Creating in Color. Keep striving, keep trying, keep creating. Bye. You can say bye too.
Oh. Bye.